Listener discretion is advised. The hair just moved from my bottom lip to my upper lip.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, geez. Got something in my teeth.
And brush their teeth on camera.
Tell them what you did.
I brushed my teeth with a Q-tip this morning.
So if we just like happen to go by a CVS, no big deal.
She was
We could just
too
stop
casual.
really quick. Just want like snacks or whatever.
Tell her what you did.
Oh,
All
the hair
right.
is back. Okay, whatever.
You got pets, man. Permanent hair on your lips.
Yeah, that's
I'm
only
never
pets.
wearing lipstick again. It's
Yeah,
done. I hope
it's
you all
not worth
enjoyed
it.
it this one time.
It is a cute color, but not worth the stress.
No.
God.
I'm Kenyon.
I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda.
I'm still Amanda.
I'm fine.
Are you though?
Yes.
We have a very special fan pick this week, brought to you by Rosalie Schneider. Somebody come Schneider.
Somebody come
and-
later.
Her name is Rosalie.
Mm.
Rosalie has selected a very dark topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very dark. But a good name. Womb Raiders.
My
It's-
God.
Really?
Lara
Not
Croft
sensitive,
Womb Raider.
Yep.
Womb Raiders.
This
Basically, fetal abduction.
Mhm.
Abduction
Fetal
of a
abduction.
fetus that has not been born
Y'all.
yet.
There's no way to pick a case in this episode that's not
Super.
horrifying.
Really
Super
upsetting.
And I covered a case of fetal abduction in another episode way back, bride crimes. So there's also that if you
Yep.
want to listen to
The
more
cardboard
of it.
box one.
No,
That
that
one?
was the fiance wedding ring one. This was
Okay.
on her wedding day. Someone like showed up at her house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh, that
Baby
was
Genesis.
rough.
Not good.
So there's that. So
Yeah.
should we get boozed up so that we can get through it?
Yeah, I mean, today you will be drinking.
Mhm.
I am not drinking today because I am leaving tomorrow on a road trip with my partner. And I get day before travel anxiety so bad. And I have heartburn and I'm just not doing it. I'm just not doing it.
That's
so I
fair.
will be drinking sparkling water. But the pairing today is phenomenal. So I really hope somebody got this. Because today, you all are drinking Winc's Golden Child Hard Cider.
Yeah.
Which I've had, and she good.
love
It's-
a hard cider.
Yeah.
So good. And no, this is not a wine, but it is from our friends over at Winc, which have an incredible selection of things like ciders, too, that they rotate seasonally. So, Winc, for those who don't know, is an online wine club that delivers wine to your door. It is an incredible service. They are always switching up the things that they're offering, all these new cool wines, different varietals, all kinds of awesome stuff, things you've never tried before. We're entering into
bottles.
spring. You're gonna see some really fun whites and rosés, some chillable reds. Like, this is a really good time to get on the Winc train. And if you are a member, you get member pricing, you get recommendations based on your taste. It's just like the best. They like auto send a box based on what you've ordered before that they know you'll like, so you don't even have to think about it. Wine just shows up.
Or you can pick
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah,
a
you can do
control
both.
freak.
Yes. So if you are not already basking in the luxury that is Winc Wine Club, try it out. Head to trywinc, TRYWINC.com/gals, GALS, for $20 off your first box of wine. And if you put 4 or more bottles in there, they take care of the shipping. Little secret. That isn't a secret because they tell you that. It's amazing. So, yes, the Golden Child hard cider is delicious. This is a lovingly handcrafted hard cider with serious attention to detail. But they also injected an element of fun, adding up to a delicious cider that really brings the party.
Woo!
This is a low in alcohol option because it's going to drink a little more like a beer. So you're not going to get that really high ABV. It's effervescent. It's fizzy. It's slightly sweet without being too sweet.
It's my mom's favorite. My mom loves this cider.
It's so good. It's so well balanced and just easy to drink. It's great in the fall, but my God, this springtime warm weather sitting on the patio with a hard cider. Get out of town.
Very refreshing.
So refreshing. This apple cider shows notes of all the fruits of the orchard, along with a hint of white flowers and honey. She clocks in at 8% ABV. It is a crack top, so you can use this portion, and if you're watching at home on Patreon because you give it any level, you can see this is a bottle opener on your wine key.
2-in-1.
Yep. So you can get yourself a nice pop wine key for all of your wine opening and bottle opening needs. And just to provide you with some kind of crack, I will now open my sparkling water can. Ready?
Yes.
Here we go.
Wow.
Nice crack.
Really bringing the party.
I am. I'm the designated driver today.
We recorded a doubleheader yesterday, so I'm also drinking water right now. But after my case, I might have to switch to alcohol.
Yeah.
It's dark. She dark.
I'm
so
drinking
all of this is so dark.
my watermelon White Claw.
Delish.
I need to try the mango
It's
one, 'cause
really
you said
good.
it's
Mango.
I only have black cherry at home right now, and it's not my favorite.
My candle is mango.
Look at that. Would you look at that? Okay, well, Lucy,
I'm such a bro. God.
what's our background and hopefully psych for womb raiders / fetal abductions?
Oh my God. It's a lot. I'm going to just trigger warning at the top as should be for all of our episodes.
Yeah.
But like especially now.
Yeah.
It's,
Especially always.
Yeah.
well, this is a topic that is deeply disturbing, especially if you are a person who has children yourself or has been pregnant yourself. We're going to take a very clinical approach to this whole thing for my segment, putting emotions largely to the side here.
Push it
Shove 'em down.
Push it down.
Shove it down.
Yep.
So on that note, let's chat fetal abductions.
Oh my God.
This type of child abduction is not very common, but these cases are so outrageous that they tend to garner a lot of press when they do happen. Also known as fetus snatching, fetus abduction, or fetal kidnapping, this crime occurs when someone attacks an at-term pregnant woman and extracts the fetus through a crude cesarean section. Also noting, we're going to be talking about women a lot. We're just doing the binary language here because it's pregnancy and all that stuff. So there is not a lot of information about this out there because there isn't really one place that defines and collects this data. Plus, if it's just like an attempted kidnapping, then it might just be like assault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, actually, quick anecdote, and I think I have said this on the podcast before, but Zach's mom, when she was pregnant with him, worked as, I don't know exactly what her title was, but it was like an art therapist, I think, in a psych ward.
I remember that.
And she was pregnant. She wasn't close to term or anything, but she was obviously pregnant. And one of her patients
wanted to womb raid her?
Had an episode and attacked her. I think maybe with like a pen. I can't really remember the details, but like went for the belly and was screaming that the patient was screaming that Zach's mom had stolen her baby and put her baby in her own
Inside
belly.
of her.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
obviously,
so sad.
She needed care and was getting care. But actually, after that incident, Zach's mom decided to change careers because she just didn't feel
probably
safe.
Just a little scared.
Yeah,
which is
didn't
fair.
feel safe.
Really traumatic.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Wow.
Okay. Well, so instances like that. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children recorded 18 cases of fetal abductions in the United States between 1983 and 2015, which represented 6% of the recorded 302 cases of abduction of infants.
So it's very rare.
It's very
fetal
rare.
abduction. Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of this information is from an article titled Fetal Attraction.
Oh, no.
Which I fucking love.
Low-hanging fruit.
That's excellent.
I am here for it. So I love that. It was written in 2012 by Carrie E. Arquette of Regis University and published by Regis University. So a lot of what I'm reading is just lifted off as just stats and information from that. From 1974 to 2011, there have been at least 22 fetal abductions, attempted fetal abductions, or alleged fetal abductions in the U.S. Because there is no entity for systematic collection of information about fetal abduction, this might not account for all instances, as previously stated. There is some evidence that fetal abduction by individuals is less common outside of the U.S. Historically, fetal abductions were not perpetrated exclusively by lone females working in conjunction with accomplices, but also by governments.
Great.
Oh no.
Yeah. So during Argentina's so-called dirty war between 1976 and 1983, the government imprisoned an unknown number of pregnant women. They put them in what is it called? Like camp, like
concentration camps.
Yeah. Like what we have at the border now, kind of.
Internment camps, yeah.
Yeah. So the women were delivered of their babies either vaginally or through forcible cesarean sections. The newborns were given to carefully selected citizens who supported the regime, and then the birth mothers either died during delivery or were killed immediately thereafter.
That
my
is horrifying.
God.
So there's a whole movement in Argentina now to find these stolen babies that disappeared and try to connect them back with their families.
Oh, God. That's devastating.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I don't know enough about the history of that region, just kind of broad strokes, but that is fucking horrific. Oh my God.
So this article relates fetal abduction to Robert Agnew's general strain theory. So this is from Wikipedia. Agnew, right?
I think so.
Sure.
I'm born Agnew.
There's no way to knew.
Agnew recognized that strain theory, originally put forward by Robert King Merton, was limited in terms of fully conceptualizing the range of possible sources of strain in society. So like strain as in like stress and friction, especially among youth. According to Merton, innovation occurs when society emphasizes socially desirable and approved goals, but at the same time provides inadequate opportunity to achieve these goals with the legitimate institutionalized means.
Sounds
Is this
familiar
ringing a bell?
as an older millennial.
Yeah. In other words, those members of society who, for example, find themselves in a position of financial strain yet wish to achieve material success resort to crime in order to achieve socially desirable goals.
Like the crime of starting a podcast.
This is a crime. Agnew supports this assumption, but he also believes dealing with youth, there's like horrible punctuation here. There are factors that incite criminal behavior. He suggests that negative experiences can lead to stress not only financially induced.
Right.
So his general strain theory identifies 3 types of strain. 1, the actual or anticipated failure to achieve positively valued stimuli. So like the way society treats pregnant women, for example. 2, the actual or anticipated removal of positively valued stimuli. And 3, the actual or anticipated presentation of negative stimuli. Data suggests that fetal abductors may be motivated by all 3 types of strain. These strains involve the abductor's fear that she cannot have a child, the loss or damage of a partner relationship or other close relationship, the loss of attention and social approval, and the fear of exposure of having falsely claimed pregnancy.
Oh, yeah. I have all of that basically in my case.
Yeah, that's very
Checks all the boxes.
Checks
or like,
all of it.
Having a miscarriage and then,
That
thinking,
too.
and then you're thinking you're going to have this, positively valued stimuli and then having it be
Well,
lost.
and there have been cases of like truly psychosomatic pregnancy with like early pregnancy symptoms.
Yeah.
And then that individual becomes so ingrained in that delusion
Right.
that they truly believe that they are pregnant.
right.
We'll get to the delusion.
It's wild.
yeah.
The
It's
human
really
brain
wild.
is pretty incredibly powerful and
Yeah.
like it cannot be trusted. And I am so scared that I am not in reality all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I think there was is it Mary Queen of Scots or some one of the royals of that period thought she was pregnant and had all the symptoms and all the signs and like a growing belly and the whole thing, and it turned out to be like a tumor.
It was
or
like
something.
cancer. Yeah.
Yeah. Really bad.
From all the white powder.
I don't know.
I don't
Well,
know.
it wasn't
Maybe.
Queen Elizabeth, but yeah, could be.
They were all pale.
True.
Lack of vitamin D.
Yeah. So the general strain theory suggests that individuals who act criminally when under certain strains have personalities that are high in negative emotionality and low in constraint or like self-control. Quote, people with negative emotionality and low constraint are easily upset, become very angry when upset, tend to act without thinking, and care little about the feelings and rights of others. Such individuals consistently provoke negative treatment from others, such as parents and teachers. I feel like we all know people like that.
Well, this is like all extreme forms of lack of emotional regulation, which is something that you develop. It's like so integral to being like young and socialized.
Well, my next sentence, these traits are believed to be associated with early life experiences that may negatively impact personality development, such as a chaotic home, death of a parent, poverty, injury, illness, abuse, etc.
Yeah, it's really scary too to see how like obviously it's the right call to have students staying at home during COVID so that we're stopping the spread. But I think that there are going to be circumstances that we won't really see until later on down the line of large amounts of children in this psychological developmental stage that are not getting the kind of exposure and socialization that they need. And I think it's going to be tough for like a whole generation of kids.
Hopefully we can kind of kick that into overdrive
Yes.
once everyone
Yeah.
is vaccinated.
God willing, and those
hopefully,
brains are
yeah.
so spongy and capable of repair at that age too. But it's just like something to think about that like literally keeps me awake at night, and I do not have kids. It just freaks me the fuck out.
I think the good educators out there are aware and will try to, make up some of that lost time.
Absolutely. There's no other way. You have to. That's the only way forward.
Yeah. Also, if you hear banging, it's because now the workers at my neighbor's house are back and they appear to be taking down a tree.
God bless them. This hair just is
It's
growing
also
out of my
back.
mouth now. Yeah.
Is growing out. Ugh, you have hair plugs on your lips. Ugh.
Yep.
Okay, so defense teams in these kinds of cases will frequently claim that their clients are quote unquote insane because of the outrageousness of the nature of this crime. But that is, first of all, just a legal defense, not any kind of medical.
Diagnosis.
Yeah, that's not like one thing.
No. But that is hard to prove because of the premeditation and preparation prior to the crime, which we'll get to later on in my segment.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we will.
The kits.
Oh.
Kits. Oh, God. Quote, some healthcare professionals believe that these women are merely self-centered females who are obsessed with the idea of having a baby. These
so
women.
Is it like very, very much skewed towards cis?
Yeah, the binary woman.
Yes.
Who commit fetal abduction?
Yes. In all of the cases in the U.S. that I read about, it was a woman who was the assailant. And in like 2 or 3 cases, that woman had assistance from someone else. And in at least one of those cases, it was a man.
Okay.
So
Assistance
really,
from a man.
men have very little to do with the profile of a fetal abductor. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
These women create a fantasy world, like Amanda was talking about, in which they have a newborn, and while they are fully aware of the difference between reality and fantasy, they just prefer to live in the world that they're fabricating.
It's
Like
less
90 Day
painful.
Fiance.
Mm-hmm. What?
Like most of the people on 90 Day Fiance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And most of
Great
the people watching
television.
it,
Me.
I'd prefer to live in my delusion. Thank you very much.
My delusion is very cozy, and I'm comfortable here.
That's what most delusion is. It's totally a defense mechanism. Like, I get why people fall into
Delude
these
themselves.
spaces. It's very comfortable. It's a much
God.
better place than reality.
I watched Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for like 3 hours this morning while I was doing my notes.
Speaking of delusion,
dissociation,
Yeah.
delusion, and not reality.
you're surviving.
I'm simply surviving.
You're doing what you have to do to survive, and I appreciate it.
God, thank you so much for the validation. So others say that fetal abduction is due to the maternal instinct run amok, which is bullshit.
I have that quote in my case.
I've seen it in several articles.
Yeah.
So a quick note about that from a 2015 Guardian article. Teresa Porter, a Connecticut state forensic psychologist who specializes in female violence, I don't know if they use the right word, scotched the notion that the prime motive is an obsessive desire for motherhood. Quote, "This is not the maternal urge run amok," she said. "The perpetrators are driven more by narcissism and grandiose delusions than an obsession to nurture. There's no evidence that they bond with the babies that they snatch. These women are often extreme con artists. They are psychologically impaired, but the majority are not psychotic," she said. And it also brings about the fact that if it were maternal urge run amok, there are certainly women and people who have an overwhelming desire to have children, and they don't do shit like this.
Right.
Well, right. And there are certainly many more cases of an infant child being abducted after birth
Yes.
and not cutting the child out
Right.
of the still pregnant parent.
Right.
Yeah.
But
It's
they
just-
want they want the baby to be as much of a newborn as
Right.
possible, because that's part of their delusion is not just having a baby, it's being pregnant and passing off a newborn. Which is different than just wanting a child.
Yeah.
So I'll get a little bit more into the motives here, because the primary motivation between in most of these cases is not even that.
Yeah. It's also like, I feel like it's got to be kind of similar to Munchausen by proxy, because like these people are getting attention and validation from
the pregnancy.
status of being pregnant.
So at least one researcher proposes that the perpetrators are driven by a need to feel special and important. This desire is consistent with people with a factitious disorder, so people who live in their delusions, who pretend to be sick or to make themselves ill in order to focus attention upon themselves.
Got it. So that would just
Finally-
be Munchausen. That wouldn't be Munchausen by proxy. Because by proxy is when you make somebody else sick so that you care for them. Just
that-
the regular
Yes,
Munchausen
But
is making yourself
that
sick.
attention works for both.
No, totally. I was just saying
I
in that
think the
specific example.
Pregnancy is what straddles the Munchausen versus Munchausen by proxy,
Sure.
because the reason that they're getting this status is because their bodies and they are caring for another life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think definitely with the
Yeah.
pregnancy thing, it can straddle both.
Right. It's not just like, I don't feel well, I have morning sickness, I, can't sleep, whatever. It's more about I'm special.
growing life.
I'm growing. Yeah, exactly.
So beyond that, experts in the area of mental health propose, and like I said, this is throughout all of the articles that I read as listed as the primary motivation, that fetal abductors are driven to the crime in order to shore up or secure a relationship with a partner.
My case talks about that.
It is to solidify, is to keep a man in their lives, essentially.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in a lot of cases, at least in my case, the person already has children.
Like a big percentage of these abductors already have kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Mine is more that kind of classic trope that you were saying where she's young, she's in this relationship, they weren't married yet. I don't know if she saw wedding bells in the future, then she said she was pregnant. They get married, a baby is not coming. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting for this baby. I better fucking have a baby.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot to be said about the manipulation that's involved with even women who purposely get pregnant to keep their relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
That's straight manipulation.
Yeah.
And additionally, to lie about being pregnant to have the same ends.
Kelly Kapoor, it didn't work for her either. Well, I guess she and Ryan did kind of end up together in the end. So maybe it did work for her.
But then all of the manipulation that comes after, like the attack itself, it's just like, it just compounds.
There are better and easier ways to get attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wear a low cut top.
It's worked for me.
Jesus Christ.
Got Amanda out of a couple of late fees at Blockbuster.
Sure did.
Start a podcast.
Thanks, Aunt Gail.
You can wear whatever the fuck you want. Start a podcast.
Clearly. I'm not even wearing pants.
And
I
you
love
can
that
drink.
for you.
So, way better. Way easier than faking a pregnancy and stealing a fetus from a poor, unsuspecting woman.
You're
That
really,
is more
you're really
work
painting
than-
yourself into a corner with
Yeah.
that plan.
And it has a solid end date.
Yeah.
Like a really solid one.
I'm a
real
procrastinator.
well-known.
It wouldn't work for me at all.
We'll get to the due dates.
Yes.
So
we will.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has done a bunch of research and compiled a list of traits of fetal abductors, which are similar to those of infant abductors. Abductors of infants, not abductors who are infants.
Right. Thank you for clearing that up.
Rare.
The NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, describes the typical abductor of infants as of childbearing age, and this is their word, not mine, overweight, compulsive, manipulative, and deceptive. She frequently tells others that she has lost a baby or cannot have a biological child, prepares to care for a child, and is motivated by the desire to give her romantic partner an infant. She usually lives near or in the community in which the kidnapping takes place. These and other descriptions published by NCMEC hold true for fetal abductors. Based upon this study, meaning that the fetal attraction study, it's too good. It's too good. Oh my God. Based on that study's data, fetal abductors differ from abductors of infants in a few ways. Fetal abductors do not make multiple visits to hospital maternity wards or newborn nurseries and are unlikely to impersonate a nurse, whereas abductors of infants are likely to do those
That
things.
Right, to get that
so
proximity
fucking
after
scary.
birth.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
Oh my
NCMEC
God.
reports that infant abductors usually plan the abduction, but do not necessarily target a specific infant. They just want to kind of grab whichever one they can.
Okay.
While data compiled for this study suggests that fetal abductors usually do target a victim mother and her unborn child.
But
Yep.
not always, like in my case.
Oh,
Not
my
always.
case, it's very targeted.
So there were a bunch of stats and charts in this study, but because the sample pool for this specific article was only 23 cases, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it because it might not be entirely, it
Accurate.
isn't entirely accurate, but
Yeah.
here are just a sample of highlights. So 12 of the 22 of the assailants were white. Most were of average or higher than average intelligence. Before the crime, most had appeared and acted pregnant. Others believed that they were pregnant, and they had acquired baby items. They started collecting baby shit.
They nested.
Yeah.
Full nurseries.
They nested.
That's part of the attention.
Yeah.
That's part of the whole
Could have a baby
shtick.
shower.
Well, and and people are also probably going to be a little suspicious if you are claiming you're about to have a baby and you have not acquired a single item for that child.
Right.
Well, and that's just part of that reward, that narcissistic need. Of, let's have a throw me a party, give me gifts. About half of these women had faked some kind of pregnancy test, like a bogus ultrasound or something.
Right.
Or like a sonogram.
Yes. Most had also prepared a kit for the abduction. Kits contained instruments and tools for restraining their victim, cutting out the fetus, cleaning up after the mess, and dressing the baby.
It's like the darkest go bag for a pregnant woman, an actual go bag that you have by your door for when you're getting close.
Yeah, it's a go
Imaginable.
I wonder what the playlist is, because people have like
the birth playlist. I'm zoning out.
Keep bleeding, I keep bleeding.
Oh, wow. That's
dark. Too dark.
Coming out. And obviously, Drops of Jupiter, my favorite.
Yeah. Those are good for actual birth playlists.
Drops of Jupiter applies to every situation.
It's too good.
It's too versatile.
It's very versatile. Okay, so strangers, in that the assailant was a stranger to the pregnant woman, accounted for 39% of these occurrences. Acquaintances counted for 35%, and friends for 26%. So it's pretty even.
Yeah.
The majority are strangers, but there's not like a clear majority here.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd think it would be primarily strangers because it's a lot easier to cover that up. And show up with a baby in your social circles when it's not like your friend's baby.
Access.
You gotta get access, and you also need to know that that baby is like at term.
Right.
So they need some information to know how pregnant that woman is.
Oh, I know. I mean, like the abduction within the community you live in makes sense to me, and that's what happened in my case. But she did not have a relationship with this woman.
Oh, my person, they were friends.
That's so spooky to me.
Yeah.
Keep me away from your pregnancies, ladies. You don't know what could happen.
It's fine.
Just keep me away from your pregnancies.
She's like, no, I don't want to be anywhere near that.
It's not for you. It's for me.
I don't want to feel it kicking.
I don't want your life.
I don't want to touch your belly.
I don't, though. I don't.
Contact schemes included claiming to be conducting a study, offering the victim a ride, claiming a misdelivery of the victim's baby gift, like, oh, this was dropped off at my house. I think it's yours. And
Never trust your neighbors.
Never. Responding to a classifieds ad, promising baby items, and posing as an aid provider. Okay, now to the weapons. Guns were used in 5 fetal abductions, and a stun gun was used in 1. Keep in mind, these are of the 22 that are cited in this story.
So guns, would that be to just control the victim before the...
My case used a gun, and yes.
It can be for coercion and control and like threatening, and it can be to kill the mother.
Okay.
A stun gun was used in 1. Sharp implements included a hatchet, razor, scissors, and knife. Those were used on 4 victim mothers. At least 7 victims were smothered, strangled, or suffocated by their attacker. Weapons included a pillow, yarn, a fetal monitoring belt.
That's my case. We'll get to it.
Okay. I hope that one of you would cover that one because it's not cute. A latex glove and duct tape.
Also, shoelaces.
Oh, yeah. 6 victims were struck with blunt instruments. These included bats, tire irons, a table leg, and an ashtray. And 1 victim mother was drugged by her abductor.
I'm going to ask you not to read the last thing you listed in this next line, starting with "and even a."
Gotcha.
Because that's also from my case, and I want there to be a reveal for the listeners.
Really fucking intense.
Yup.
So in terms of the tools used to create the incision in the victim mother's pelvis, we've got knives, shears, razor blades, and utility or craft knives. In 9 of the 22 cases, the surgery was performed in the home of the perpetrator. In 5 cases, it was done in the home of the victim. And in 5 cases, it took place in a secluded area, such as a park or a forested area. One abductor moved her victim from the victim's home to a secluded area to complete the attack.
That could be my case.
Other attacks took place in motel rooms and cars. In 16 cases, the mother died, meaning in 6 cases, the mother lived. And in 6 cases, the baby died, but usually, actually, the baby lived.
Right. Which is amazing, but when you're thinking about the targets of these acts, these babies are typically to term. That's the point.
Right.
They're
capable of surviving outside of the womb if they can manage to not be so violently extracted that there's harm caused to the unborn child as well.
Right.
I think that would be why when we're looking at the weapons that were used to actually incapacitate or kill the mother, they're like the gun is actually kind of surprising. The sharper, like the things that basically you don't want to kill the mother in a way that it would cause so much shock and trauma that it would kill the baby also.
I think also
so
though,
like the smothering and the hitting, that makes more sense, I think.
When I was trying to find cases, like guns were certainly mentioned, and there is a gun in my case as like a point of coercion, but I didn't see anything about anyone getting necessarily like shot and killed and then they're scrambling after the fact to extract the child. But I do think that there were instances where like the child is extracted, the mother is near death / the assailant doesn't want them to be found anyway,
to be a witness,
shoots them, and then tries to dispose of their body after the baby's already been taken out.
Right.
Which makes more sense.
Because I don't know how long a fetus could survive.
It's not long. You're going to suffocate in there
without oxygen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not a doctor, shockingly.
Well, I think you could survive for a while because when the mother's... Because the baby's not breathing oxygen. It's just absorbing it through the amniotic fluids, right? The baby's not breathing, so it's not going to suffocate.
Should we really freak out our NSA folks and Google it?
How long can a living child survive in a dead person's womb?
Because I thought that like when your water breaks,
Siri.
When your water breaks, that's kind of
5
like
minutes.
I was going to say it can't be much more than 5 or 10 minutes.
If the baby is near full term and has lungs developed enough to work, then it will survive. Many people may say 5 minutes or so, but the exact amount of time will vary depending on the individual. But it's really only a few minutes from the time that the mother's heart stops beating. So
that makes sense because it's like not just about oxygen. It's like every life source of this child is going through the living host.
And your body starts to like decompose
immediately,
away.
Yeah.
There have been babies delivered from mothers who have died of gunshot wounds or in accidents of other kinds that have survived, but it's like they
pretty rare.
They rushed them to the hospital and then got them on oxygen support and basically revived them. Wow.
What a violent way to come into the world. I can't even imagine.
Back to the gun thing, too. We know that women are less likely to use firearms in situations like this, too.
Right.
So in another article, the researcher identified 23 cases in the U.S., including 3 attempted cases. Of those, 19 mother victims were killed and 8 babies died as a result. But still, usually the mother dies and the baby survives. Kind of usually. Pretty
more
much
often than
the majority.
Not, even if it's skewed only a little bit in the child's favor, that's still how it's working out, apparently.
There wasn't any specific modality of death employed in any of the cases. The offenders used whatever means were available to them at the time of the attack. So this kind of breaks it down a little bit more. 4 victims were shot, 6 victims were stabbed, 6 victims died from blunt force trauma, 5 were strangled, 1 was suffocated, and 1, the cause of death is unknown. 15 of the offenders disposed or hid their victims' bodies. 4 of the offenders left the bodies of their victim in the crime scene. 14 victim mothers were killed in the perpetrator's home. 4 victim mothers were killed in their own home, and 5 victim mothers were killed at an outside location, usually in an open park or wooded area. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, fetal abduction seems to be on the rise, at least in the U.S. According to Kathy...
Great!
Well, this
on the rise
pretty
from like
fucking rare.
23 since the 80s to however many now.
Since the 70s, yeah, as long as we've been like keeping track of it.
I almost covered the first recorded case of
in Philadelphia.
Yes, but it was like too much. I couldn't.
It was a lot.
It was really tough. But that was in like 1974.
Yeah, that was the first
recorded. Yeah. So it could have happened before that. And can you imagine ye old investigators just being like, werewolf?
Yeah.
What the fuck? I cannot.
It's probably a demon.
Can't wrap my head around it.
It's Jack the Ripper. He's here. Mm-hmm. According to Kathy Naherney, a senior analyst on infant abduction for the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, quote, there has been a rise. There is lots of information available. And whereas in the old days, you might have to steal another woman's sonogram image from her. Now you can just download one from the internet.
Yeah.
And
everyone
or go on
Facebook.
Fucking Facebook and find a really pregnant woman and join her MLM or something.
Oh, shit.
Honestly, you should post that shit on social media.
One of her leggings parties, they're, Tupperware.
I'll be at the leggings party.
And you've got an in. You're there to both do recon on an expecting mother and actually get leggings.
Oh, last but not least, there's an image on the drive, which will be on the blog, that shows like a diagram of how the baby's cut out. Yeah, it's a crude incision. And then they just have to kind of reach up. And they have to cut the umbilical cord.
Anyone get pregnant? I get it. Like the end result is great or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But no.
It's not for everybody, and that's okay.
Not for everybody.
I'd say it's not for most people, but we power through because of like evolution.
I am upset.
It's one of those things that you just really can't think too hard about or it will gross you out.
It's like a polar plunge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, cheers. I will be drinking the rest of this as quickly as possible. That's my segment.
Oh my God.
Deeply disturbed.
Valerie Franks was born in Colorado Springs in 1975 and grew up mostly in Texas. Both of her parents were originally from Pennsylvania, and Valerie decided to move there after she finished high school. Her mother stayed back in Texas, and her father seems to have probably been out of the picture at this point, and same Valerie, same. So,
I feel you, Valerie.
It's unclear what motivated young Valerie to move to Pennsylvania because she doesn't seem to have any remaining family there at that time. But whatever, it's where her parents were from. She decided to go there. I'm dying with this eye. Oh, my God.
The hair, right? It's not easy.
Okay. It's in my good eye, so I can't even, like, close it and read my notes.
Nope.
Oh, okay. No.
But before long, she was in a serious relationship with a man named David Dwayne Barry.
No.
And if you couldn't
No, she wasn't.
That's not a great name.
If you couldn't already tell from his name, he was physically abusive. He was an abuser. In 1998, at around age 23, Valerie became pregnant And that summer, she obtained an order of protection against David. And we do know that instances of intimate partner violence and domestic abuse spike when the victim becomes pregnant. In a lot of cases, it's like a big trigger for abusers. Basically, they feel like the attention is off of them and they're losing control, and their victim is going to care more about this fetus and is also more vulnerable. And it's a bad recipe for increased abuse. But in December of that year, she went to the court to have the order vacated. So she applied for the order of protection, got it, and then changed her mind. A month later, she gave birth to a baby boy that she named Brandon David Barry. Of course, it was not long before she had to obtain another order of protection against her partner.
Did having a child not fix all of your relationship issues?
Well, I don't think, some people, I think there are two different conversations.
Yeah.
Like, there are people that
in a desperate attempt to
who are in an
repair.
unhappy but not abusive relationship and think that this is going to bring them closer or whatever, which is just not a good idea.
A fetal abductor.
Right. And then there are cases of abuse where, like, who knows if she even was trying to get pregnant, or even if she was, she doesn't,
It could have just
does
as
not have
easily
any
been,
power or control in her relationship.
It could have been either not manipulative by either party or by either one, really.
She's not manipulative.
Okay.
She, she was young in an abusive relationship, but thought herself to be in love, got pregnant, had a baby, but it's still an abusive relationship, and a baby is not going to change an abusive relationship. It's only going to kind of make things worse. So she got another order of protection against him, and then again she asked to have it rescinded about a year later, and then this pattern would continue for years. So she would alternate between living with David Dwayne Barry and seeking protection from him while moving out and living between various trailer parks and public housing developments. She always struggled to pay rent and struggled to get by and to support her son all by herself with, not a lot of resources and basically no support. She was also in a constant struggle to obtain child support payments from Barry, which he consistently flaked the fuck out on, of course. In 2002, Valerie had seemingly cut ties with him once and for all, and she had met a new guy and gotten engaged, and the new guy is named Jason Oskin. So she's moving on. She's got a new love in her life.
I thought you were going to say your high school boyfriend. That sounds like that name.
Jason Oskin.
I don't think we dated in high school. I think we only dated in middle school.
You dated freshman year.
No, I think we only dated in
was
middle school. Yeah.
I remember it was 8th grade.
He still had a thing for me, but it's fine.
Is that why you set me up with him, to get him off your ass?
Maybe. So
sounds like a sacrifice of a friend that Kenyon would make.
Yeah. That's fine.
I'm not gonna deny it.
It was a long time ago. I don't remember.
He was he was a very talented musician and a very nice person with extremely beautiful handwriting.
Oh my God, his handwriting.
Yeah. Anyway.
It was otherworldly.
I hate this.
Okay, so
his penmanship was
it was really his penmanship that drew me in. Okay, so she meets this new guy, Jason. They get engaged. But she's, coming from this other relationship with abuse, so she has no desire to end up in another toxic relationship. So she does a really smart thing. She spends 6 months attending premarital counseling sessions with Jason at a local church before agreeing to tie the knot. So, like, I thought that was pretty interesting.
I feel like premarital counseling, although it stems from like controlling churches, it's usually a pretty positive thing, I think.
If it's done well, what harm could come from like communicating about your needs and expectations before committing? Like, that's a good thing. So for a time, it seemed like Valerie's life was getting less difficult and things were going well. She and Brandon moved into Jason's house in Harrison, Pennsylvania. They're married, whatever. But after less than a year of marriage, Valerie left Jason and she moved back in with David Dwayne Barry. So she just was pulled right back to her abuser. And then Jason filed for divorce soon after. And of course, Barry went back to his abusive ways. And so, you know, after going back to him again, Valerie takes her son Brandon and leaves again and then resumes her pattern of moving around constantly and trying to make ends meet and get back on her feet. And one of her neighbors from this time period remembers that Valerie, quote, always seemed to be trying. She always had a very neat appearance. She was always trying for a start, but somehow, you know, you get down so far, it's hard to get back up, which is just so sad. At this point, Valerie became friends with Peggy Jo Connor in early 2005 when she moved in she moved with Brandon, who's now 6 years old, into a mobile home in Pattonville, which is a small rural community in Armstrong County, Pennsylvania, that was described by one source as hard scrabble.
Okay.
So I'm basically just picturing All the Right Moves, that movie with Tom Cruise. Totally. Where he's like trying for like his football dreams, but he's probably going to have to go work down the mine. And it's just like hard scrabble Pennsylvania in the 80s.
Yeah, I feel like hard scrabble.
Brown.
Yeah.
Like that.
Joe Biden says hard scrabble.
Yeah.
What's the movie with either Tobey Maguire or Jake Gyllenhaal about the
Cider?
Rockets?
Cider
No,
House
the
Rules.
The Rockets.
October Sky.
October Sky. Exact same plot line except rockets and not football.
Yep.
Because he's got to go
He
work
literally
down
had to
in
go
the
work in a
mine.
mine instead of making rockets like he wanted to. I think that's based on a true story, so I shouldn't rip on it too much, but...
Yeah.
But
exactly.
Is it Jake Gyllenhaal
It
or
is.
Tobey Maguire?
It is Jake Gyllenhaal. That I can confirm.
I
Jake.
can't tell the difference
I know.
in my head.
Toby Gyllenhaal.
In Saving Private Ryan.
Poor man's Jake Gyllenhaal.
So Peggy Jo lived in the trailer next door to Valerie, and Peggy Jo was there with her 3 children who are all in their teens at this point. So Peggy Jo's a little bit older. She also kept numerous guinea pigs.
Oh, she's a pig mom.
And lived with her boyfriend, a man who went by the name Cowboy.
Okay,
No.
well...
Never
love him.
trust a man who's given himself his own nickname.
I love, yes, a family comprised primarily of guinea pigs and a man who gave himself his own nickname. This is gonna go well.
So his real name was Thomas Wilkes, but obviously that's irrelevant. He's Cowboy.
Yes.
Cowboy.
So Valerie is now 30 years old. Peggy Jo is 38. They first began talking because of the close proximity of their trailer homes. And
the guinea pigs are a conversation starter.
Right. Gold.
I should go
for
get Veronica. Should I go get Veronica?
Yes.
Sure, go quickly.
I'm trying to go.
Keep going. I'm listening. You don't need her.
She'll catch up.
Yeah.
So their trailer homes are next door to each other, but they soon discovered that they had a lot in common. They had lived in many of the same neighborhoods in the past, had both worked as nurses' aides, and had escaped abusive relationships, and were now raising their children with absentee fathers. Eventually, they learned, hello, Veronica.
Hi, Auntie.
Oh my God.
Get her one wonky arm. So for those who aren't privileged to watch this video, Veronica is my soft mount taxidermied guinea pig. Look at her beautiful teeth. She has a gorgeous smile.
Guinea pig?
I think she is, yeah.
Oh,
What'd you think?
I don't know. Like a rat?
No, she's got the little ears. She could either be a small guinea pig or a larger teddy bear hamster.
She is not a teddy bear hamster. I had teddy bear hamsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I also had teddy bear hamsters, but yeah.
Not that big. You can record with me today, Veronica.
Okay. So, whose womb did you snitch?
Yeah, seriously.
She's not a teddy bear hamster because I killed all of those that I tried to steal.
They were not big enough for me to extract.
Too small. They just come in a batch. I don't like that.
So eventually the two women also learned that they had something else in common. They were both pregnant.
She's pregnant.
Valerie was not widely sharing this news, however. She was planning to give, well, you're not supposed to say give the baby. She was planning to
Place the child for
place
adoption.
the child up for adoption to a couple who had more resources and could provide the child with what she believed would be a better life.
Mm-hmm.
And Valerie had already selected the couple who would adopt her child and had come to an arrangement with them in which they would support her financially during her pregnancy and then cover all of the medical bills for, giving birth, which is pretty standard practice.
Mm-hmm.
And she understandably didn't want to deal with questions from neighbors and acquaintances and fucking busybodies about the pregnancy and her plans for the baby and having to explain her decision to fucking anyone. She just wanted to be left alone about it.
Mind your own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she kept the news a secret and even, fibbed when some people inquired about her weight gain or about her morning sickness and like obvious symptoms, which she tried to pass off as the stomach flu. So she was really just downplaying the whole thing, didn't want attention drawn to it. But Valerie did at some point confide in her close friend and neighbor, Peggy Jo.
Oh, geez.
And as the months progressed, it became more and more difficult for Valerie to hide her pregnancy, so she eventually shared the news with a couple other neighbors as well, telling them that her on-again, off-again person, David Dwayne Barry, was the father. In contrast, Peggy Jo, who'd been trying to conceive another child for years and was now 38, talked incessantly about her pregnancy and the fact that she was expecting a baby boy and showing off the sonogram photo to whoever would look at it. But unlike Valerie, who looked quite visibly pregnant, Peggy Jo, who had been talking for months about her pregnancy, still didn't really, quote, look pregnant as she approached what should have been her due date. And some people don't look, quote unquote, pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like that should have been the biggest red flag.
Right.
But
No.
she did have 3 previous children. And I'm assuming that like she carried those children and looked visibly pregnant when she did. But now with this one, she wasn't. So Cowboy, the supposed father of the baby boy, was beginning to get suspicious as well. All of Peggy Jo's OBGYN appointments had taken place during the day while he was at work. And when he took a day off to attend an appointment with her, like he took it upon himself to take the day off because he wanted to be there, she then informed him that it had been canceled last minute by the doctor. Oh, shucks, gonna have to reschedule.
Mm-hmm.
Then, on October 12th, 2005, this odd situation came to a terrifying head. Around 11 a.m. that day, Peggy Jo Connor climbed through the window of her friend Valerie's mobile home and beat her friend with a baseball bat until Valerie was nearly unconscious.
Oh, yucky.
She then maneuvered Valerie, along with a terrified and confused 6-year-old Brandon. And I don't know if I don't know if Brandon saw the assault take place or if he was maybe in another room and then just like came out and saw his mother clearly like wounded. I don't know. But she's working alone and she got Valerie and this 6-year-old into her car. At this point, a couple neighbors saw the dazed and bloodied Valerie and were horrified, and they asked what was going on, obviously. And Peggy Jo told them that she was taking Valerie to the hospital, and the neighbors were clearly worried for Valerie, but they knew that these two women were close friends. They had no
so they're
reason
not questioning it.
Yeah, they had no reason not to believe Peggy Jo. Maybe they knew that Valerie had an abusive ex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, they don't think Peggy Jo is the assailant. They think that she's helping her friend.
Well, that probably wouldn't be your first fucking assumption.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the neighbors watched Peggy Jo drive away, and they thought that she was taking Valerie to the hospital for help. Instead, Peggy Jo dropped Brandon off at a family member's house. It was unclear whether it was her family member's house or Valerie's family member's house. I don't know. She then drove 15 miles with Valerie down a secluded back road.
A wooded area.
Yeah. It's really gross. It's really bad. Peggy Jo pulled to the side of the road, took out a razor blade, and began trying to slice into Valerie's stomach to take the unborn child. But in a miraculous, or just like super fucking lucky turn of events, a 17-year-old boy named Adam Silvis was driving down this very secluded and rarely used dirt road on an ATV. And he saw the situation unfolding and saw the bloodied Valerie lying on the ground outside the car and Peggy Jo standing over her.
Ugh.
He just like literally stumbled upon them.
Wow.
He recalled, quote, "When I first saw it, I knew it was foul play because it was just very suspicious happening. The lady acted really weird." Like,
I bet.
that's amazing. Peggy Jo attempted to act like nothing was wrong and sent Adam to continue his ride through the woods.
You're good.
Don't worry about it.
Nothing to see here.
Something
She's
like this
fine.
happens in my case too.
Really?
Yeah. There are definitely some similarities.
Yeah. Instead, Adam trusted his gut and raced home and notified his father, who rushed back to the scene with his son.
Thank
which
God.
is good, but I wish he had called 911 first. But maybe he was just like, it was so unbelievable sounding,
Sure.
you know, that he like went. So when they
Well, it
arrived,
could have been one of those things too where he like went along as well, and he was 4-wheeling, right?
yeah.
So maybe he didn't have a cell phone on him.
He was also
I meant when
17.
No. I'm not saying Adam. I wish Adam, because I don't think Adam did have a cell phone on him.
Okay.
But I wish the dad.
Oh,
had
before
called,
going to investigate had
Right.
just been like, my son just told me this. Meet us there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But whatever. So when they arrived, the two women were still there. Valerie was on the ground, bleeding, but still conscious. And Peggy Jo had, according to Adam's father, quote, an eerie calm about her.
Mm-mm.
He asked her what was going on, and she responded, nothing. And then claimed that she had been planning to take Valerie to the hospital. So she's like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm going to take her. It's fine.
It's under control.
Adam's father then told his son to go back home and call the police while he waited at the scene so that Peggy Jo couldn't, like, escape. So that's really fucking brave, I think.
Yeah.
To fucking stand there and, like, monitor the situation while the police come. When the police arrived and questioned Peggy Jo about what had happened, she claimed that she was using her training as a nurse's aide to administer emergency care to the badly wounded Valerie. But
no need to call the authorities. I've got it.
I'll just drive her to a secluded wooded area.
Yeah.
And tend to her as a nurse. And chillingly, she was in possession of what police would later describe as a homemade birthing kit.
The kit. I can't with the kit.
hemostats, which I don't know what that is. It sounds something to do with blood. I don't know. A bulb syringe, shoelaces, a razor, scissors, and rubber gloves.
Wow.
A hemostat are those little, they look like scissors, but they're not sharp. They're just used to like clamp things.
For the cord, maybe?
Yeah, to like
Clamping
probably
the cord
cut off
and-
circulation to the cord and then something like that.
Oh, shit. And because she was a nurse's aide, she had access to
Right.
some of these items.
Well,
Some of
these are
these
just
you can
supplies
just buy,
and
but
not
like,
necessarily medication, so probably people wouldn't even notice them missing from like a supply
Right.
closet.
Oh, I'm looking at them on Amazon. That's how I found out what they are.
Yeah.
You can just buy it.
right. But she could have gotten knowledge from,
Oh, yeah.
working in a hospital environment. Peggy Jo was arrested on the spot, obviously, and Valerie was rushed to Allegheny General Hospital, where she gave birth to a healthy son by emergency C-section.
Wow.
Jesus.
Valerie survived the ordeal, and the baby was adopted as originally planned. They both lived.
That's
Wow.
a miracle.
Yeah. She identified her attacker to the police as Peggy Jo Connor and described the traumatic events of the attack. So she was able to also testify. A search of Connor's trailer uncovered a bassinet, baby swing, and numerous other baby items, just like we said. She was prepping.
Mm-hmm.
Police also found the prominently displayed sonogram photograph, which turned out to have been one from her older children's, like her pregnancies with her previous kids.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't forged or anything. They were just old.
Yeah, it was a sonogram from when her, son was born. Cowboy was shocked to learn.
Not my Peggy Jo.
Keep up, cowboy.
Best hamster mom in the West. Guinea pig mom.
Cowboy was shocked to learn of Peggy Jo's deception and her attack on her best friend. It remains unclear if Peggy Jo had actually been pregnant for a time and miscarried or had never been pregnant at all. She was arrested and charged with attempted homicide, assault, and kidnapping. She pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 22 to 50 years in prison.
Wow.
However, in 2012, Connor appealed the sentence, arguing that, quote, she was on medication that had fogged her judgment when she entered the plea. So she wasn't talking about her judgment at the time of the attack, but her judgment when she pled.
Okay.
And that her attorney at the time failed to explore the possibility of an insanity defense or warn her of the lengthy jail term mandated by her plea. Her public defender in the appeal also argued that Peggy Jo had shown remorse for what she had done and had been evaluated by a forensic psychologist who concluded that she was extremely unlikely to offend again.
Okay.
Not good enough. Not good enough for me in this case when she brutally attacked her best friend.
Oof. Scary.
I mean, I suppose that's as good of an evaluation as you could possibly get.
Right.
Not good enough.
Yeah. Her sentence was reduced on appeal to between 12 and a half to 31 years. So it went down from 22 to 50 to 12 and a half to 31. After a judge agreed that the initial plea deal had been flawed because Peggy Jo had not fully understood what she was pleading guilty to or the sentencing guidelines that would mandate she serve such a long sentence.
Okay.
So
I mean,
it was reduced, but it's still a long
justice system
sentence.
loopholes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if she's still serving time. It's possible that she's already out. I don't know. Depends on how long she actually serves.
Ooh.
I wonder if Cowboy took her back.
Cowboy, take me away.
Yeah, hopefully Cowboy took himself away from that situation. Fucking Cowboy out.
Get away.
Poor Cowboy.
Yeah.
I like Cowboy.
I know. So there's a photo actually of Cowboy and Peggy Jo on the drive. Peggy Jo has made some unfortunate hair choices.
Those bangs were a choice.
Not great. Yep.
Oh.
But Valerie and the baby survived, which is just miraculous. And I knew this case was going to be dark, but I wanted some bright spot to cling to.
Well, I'll ruin that.
Okay.
Yeah, that hair, man.
Yeah, she
Also,
has one
was that the best photo of Valerie they could have found?
I hate when they do that.
I know. They should have found a better photo
Victim
of
photo.
the victim. But maybe she didn't want many photos of herself out there, you
That's
know?
fair. She's still alive, so
Yeah.
I
So
get it.
that could have been a choice. Also, she has a kid, so she wants to protect her kid and, like, you know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair
Wow.
enough.
All right. So that's my case.
Amazing.
Nice job.
I wrote in my notes, oof, this episode. Okay, here we go. Darcy Pierce was only 19 years old when she got married to Ray Pierce, a marriage that was a bit rushed by the pending arrival of their child. Darcy was so excited to be a mother and shared this news with her friends and family who just as anxiously awaited the arrival of this little miracle. And as the day grew closer and then came and then passed, the anxiety grew. Because, sure, first babies love to cook a little extra, but this was absurd. From the LA Times, quote, in 1986, she took maternity leave and pay from a department store where she worked and began wearing maternity clothes as far as her husband Ray, knew she was pregnant. One reason he had married her in December of 1986. At the time, she said her due date was May of 87. After the move to Albuquerque, they were living somewhere else. They moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. It became July 16th, then July 23rd.
Yeah.
By
She's overcooked.
By
that
the time
point.
her due date arrived, she had been in maternity clothes for 14 months.
I mean,
Anyone
maternity
can wear
clothes are really comfortable.
Well, right. I'm in maternity clothes.
I
But
mean,
in the clothes and pretending to be pregnant.
Right.
And saying she's pregnant. Spoiler alert.
Right. That's
So-
the part that matters.
Darcy made an appointment to be induced at University of New Mexico Hospital on July 23rd of 1987.
She asked if they could backdate it.
Yeah, I guess. like my taxes or insurance.
like how my mom thought visas worked. As long as you have a visa, date's not important.
No.
Oh, that kind of visa. I thought you meant like pay for something
Like a
visa.
card. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, like a travel visa.
Yeah.
So Darcy and her husband Ray were due to be at this hospital by 5 p.m. for being induced. Only problem was Darcy wasn't pregnant. Obviously would have loved to drag that twist out longer for dramatic effect, but the entire episode is about this, so what's the fucking point?
Right.
So panicked, Darcy concocted a plan. If she could acquire a baby before the appointment time, she could feasibly trick her husband and the doctors into thinking that she'd had the baby that day before the appointment. How convenient.
Oh my God.
So Darcy made her way to a place that she knew expectant mothers would be, an OB clinic in Albuquerque. So it was hot as hell on that day in July when Darcy pulled into the parking lot in her white Volkswagen Beetle.
That's
Watching-
not a discreet car.
Not really, but also it was the 80s.
It was the
so
80s.
It's,
Okay.
it's not like...
Okay. All right.
It's what it is.
It tracks.
So she's sitting in her car and she's watching mothers in various stages of pregnancy enter and exit the clinic for their appointments. Why? That's when 23-year-old Cindy Ray parked her red Chevy Blazer in the lot and slipped out of her car belly first. And Darcy knew that she had spotted the right victim.
Oh, God.
Cindy was there to have
Oh, shit, it's twins.
No, God. It's not.
Oh, no.
But can you
She
talk about
tucks-
getting more than you
tucks one
bargained
back
for?
in.
Yeah. I want
The abductor is surprised. Well,
Like, look,
Oh,
I wonder if
fuck.
that's happened. Because if you're doing it like this and you don't know,
Yeah.
maybe Cindy was packing twins and wasn't actually 8 months pregnant. I mean, she wasn't, but how does this woman know? But anyway.
Is pregnancy 8 months or 9?
Well,
like 8 and a
Cindy
half.
was 8 months. Pregnancy
it's 40
is 9
weeks.
months. Yeah, roughly
That
9
doesn't
months.
tell me anything.
But
Okay.
I'm saying Cindy was 8 months pregnant. So that's why I said
Okay.
So Cindy was there to have what she hoped to be her last checkup before delivery of her baby. This was her second child, and she'd had some anxiety around this pregnancy because her first baby was like very boisterous in the womb, full of energy, moving around in there, and it was easy to get a heartbeat when they put the fetal monitor on. But this baby was very quiet, like wasn't moving much. That
That would
even
be nerve-wracking.
I feel that, though.
it is nerve-wracking. And her OB
Amanda was the boisterous baby.
Yes.
Lucy was the quiet baby.
just sitting, like, being
I'm just
sneaky,
gonna hang out
still
in
in the womb.
I'm good.
Like, hiding in there, like, hoping people would just not know you're there.
I'm comfy.
It's like, we know you're there.
Lucy was a very fat baby. It was very cute.
I was
So chunky.
fucking fat.
So cute. I love a chubby baby.
Real. I still have my little armpit pockets.
Everybody has those.
I had big ones when I was a baby, and I got big ones now. I love them.
You had a big ass then, she's got a big ass now. So this baby was so quiet that her OB even had to push her to like drink a Coca-Cola before checking the heartbeat and like doing the sonogram just to get the little bean moving
a little
around.
jolt.
And Cindy begrudgingly obliged to drink the soda, which was an affront to her Mormon faith, but figured God would overlook it for the good of her baby.
What if the baby's like, Pepsi only?
Oh, God.
Plain.
No. So she's only 2 weeks from her delivery date, but Cindy was still working pretty long hours every day. She was selling and then delivering Tupperware, sometimes only stopping once in the day for a brief snack. Like, she is a go-getter.
No. Okay.
And that day she had scheduled her appointment between deliveries. So once she was given the all clear and heard the baby's heart, she just went on her way, not knowing what the next 24 hours for her would be.
Okay.
Her husband, Sam, was a military police officer, and he was supposed to meet Cindy at this final appointment, but he might have been running a little bit behind, or maybe she was there a little bit early and she was in the middle of her workday, so she was also kind of rushing. So when he arrived, he had just missed her, and she had already taken off to get to the next Tupperware delivery. So that was at about 3:15 p.m. He wasn't like particularly upset or concerned about this. Like, he knew that his wife.
They just missed each other.
They just missed each other. So he went to pick up their 2-year-old son from daycare and expected to see her when she got back home. At the same time, a man named Theron Hartshorn.
Oh no.
Well,
am I gonna shorten my pants?
No, he's only important in this one part. Had left work to head into the mountains and put some additional work into a house that he was building while the light was still good that day. So along the way, like, he's in a remote area. He's leaving pretty bustling Albuquerque and then heading out into remote New Mexico, like mountainous land, to like work on his cabin. Along the way, he spotted something odd on the remote road that he was on. A white Volkswagen Beetle parked just in the middle of the road with both of the doors wide open.
Oh, that's scary.
So
that's really
spooky.
scary. I don't like that.
No. So assuming the driver was stranded and he's also unable to get around the car because it's in the middle of the road with the doors open, Theron gets out to see if they need any assistance. And he was met by Darcy, who sternly told him, quote, "My friend and I need to be left alone." He tried to explain that he just wanted to get around them, and she kept repeating, "My friend and I need to be alone." He noticed
That's so weird. It feels like there's a pattern there of like the eerie calm and thinking that that's actually going to work. That you can actually get a bystander to just
go.
Yeah.
They're just like laser.
To be fair,
yeah.
He did.
No, Theron, no.
Yeah.
Fucking Theron.
Noticed off to the side of the road another woman lying on her back, but she was seemingly unharmed, and he assumed that they were like secret lesbians hooking up in the desert.
Yeah, you don't stop your car in the middle of the road, though.
With both, I know. It's just like, what the fuck, dude? So he left.
No.
He left. Obviously, his testimony, like, in this investigation ended up being pertinent, but he didn't, like, go and tell the police.
Right.
Or anything. So then, around 4:30 p.m., a woman in a white Volkswagen Beetle is parked in a used car sales lot in North Albuquerque. A clearly shook salesman comes running into the building, calling for the manager, a man named Rob Moore, saying there's a woman in the parking lot having a baby and she is asking for Rob. So he's like, she's out there, she's having a baby, she's asking for you. What the fuck?
By name or just
I
like
guess.
get a manager?
I that was unclear, but it could have been either, and we'll get to why.
Okay.
When Rob got to the car, he found Darcy soaked in sweat and blood, cradling a newborn baby in her arms and saying, "I delivered my own baby." He recognized her.
She really went for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rob recognized her because Darcy and her husband Ray had come in a few weeks prior to shop for a bigger car to accommodate their growing family, but left without purchasing a new vehicle because they couldn't afford the prices. So this is like a place she'd recently been. She would have interacted directly with this guy. So maybe she did say, like, go get Rob. She'd had a conversation with him just 2 weeks ago. Who knows?
So
Not that that's
odd.
really relevant either way, but
But he had seen her pregnant. They had talked about how she was pregnant. So maybe
Yep.
she thought that that would sell it even more.
totally.
Corroborate her
Yeah.
story of being pregnant.
That easily could have been part of it. I mean, for all that any friends, family, community members knew, she was pregnant. So I think she could have technically gone anywhere other than like a hospital
Right.
that would have been able to figure it out and been like, but I think you're right. I think maybe she chose a place with a third party kind of just close enough acquaintance that they could have been like, yeah, she was in here 2 weeks ago. She was, round with child.
Right.
So she explained that she had gone into labor on Interstate 25 between Santa Fe and Albuquerque and given birth by the road, biting the umbilical cord, which she actually did. The baby was still waxy with patches of blood and mucus on its head. She had named her Amanda Michelle.
Oh, no.
Oh.
The baby is alive. The baby is alive, period, full stop. So another salesman took her and the baby to the hospital where her husband was waiting for their 5 p.m. appointment. They arrived at about 4:45 p.m., and this was the time of birth at the hospital listed on the birth certificate before they knew what the fuck. So Darcy was adamant that the baby be thoroughly examined, but refused any medical treatment for herself for fear of being discovered.
Yeah, she didn't think about that part of people obviously being like, well, we don't want you to get an infection and die.
Yep.
So let's get in there.
And yeah,
Let's
it's
sew
87,
you
but
back
it's not 1907.
Yeah.
So like there's enough technology to be like, yeah, we need to make sure you're sewn back
You're
up,
not
basically.
septic. Yeah.
She was covered in blood and had been through a traumatic experience as far as Ray knew, so he insisted that she be examined. So like not only are doctors like, we need to examine you, but she was going to sign paperwork that waived, like absolved any doctors of wrongdoing because she's refusing treatment. And Ray was like, no, you are
You
not
don't
signing
get to
that.
do that.
We need to get you checked out. Meanwhile, it's now 6:30 p.m. and Sam Ray, Cindy's husband, has still not seen or heard from his wife, Cindy. He reports her missing to the police, and then he rallies his community to get to work. So this is from the LA Times, quote, through the evening, he and Mormon friends called airlines, hospitals, the bus station, relatives in Utah. I mean, they were just searching high and low for this woman. He also called Sister Rosemary, Cindy Ray's midwife, who happened to be on duty at the University Hospital where the Pierce baby was creating quite a stir.
So Sister Rosemary put 2 and 2 together?
I mean, I don't know if Sister Rosemary herself is the link.
Rosemary's baby?
Rosemary's baby.
baby.
But Sister Rosemary certainly was there at the time that this was happening, and so probably was like curious about the incident.
Wait a minute.
Well, people
So-
have babies all the time, so
Yeah.
she probably wasn't like,
But it was like kind of hot goss at this hospital because this woman comes in covered in blood, having delivered her own baby. Like,
And then refusing medical treatment for
yeah,
herself.
which like even without that, like that's a story.
Oh, yeah, everyone's going to talk about that.
Exactly. So it was easy to see at a glance for medical professionals that this tiny baby was not born vaginally.
Yeah, its head
She
was
had
too round.
Perfectly round head. And the blood all over Darcy was like not adding up. Like there was blood like everywhere, but it wasn't like just on her crotch or like, she had like placed some to make it look like it was running down her legs, but then she had blood. It was just, she was soaked in blood.
yeah.
It just didn't make sense that she's just standing there refusing treatment and she is so drenched in blood.
Oh my God.
So, you know, obviously then when Darcy was finally examined, doctors could surmise that she was not pregnant at all, despite having a bit of a belly, which, like, I can also confirm this.
I'm not
Just
pregnant
because I have
either.
a bit of a belly does not mean I'm pregnant.
Stop asking.
Yeah. Could you not? And that the belly was soft and not characteristic of a uterus that was or just had been housing a child, because you're to protect around the child, it like hardens. And so even right after delivery, like there's still some of that residual kind of like hardened feeling to the stomach.
It will have like shrunk down from being so expanded for months too. So
it's just, it wasn't adding up.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
So Darcy then had to think fast and switch gears with her story. She now claimed that she could not get pregnant, but didn't want her husband to know that. So she arranged for a surrogate to carry their child while faking her own pregnancy, to not only keep Ray from finding out that she couldn't get pregnant, but also so that Ray wouldn't find out that the baby wasn't his. So she claimed that the surrogate gave birth that day with the help of a midwife, that she paid $10,000 to take this baby. The midwife like splashed blood on her to make it look like she had had the baby. And then she made her way to the car dealership. And there was one report that said that she claimed she got this baby in Portland, Oregon, and then like got on a plane and came to Albuquerque with this baby. And it's like, why would you say that?
Even in the 80s, they could
there's
check
records
to see it.
of buying a plane ticket. There's a roster. So I don't know if that
just like didn't. There's no fucking way anyone would believe that.
No, it didn't happen.
Right.
So I don't know. That was in one article that I read.
Was there
but
a
not all of
baby
them.
on this plane ever? This
And a lady
morning on
covered
this
in
route?
Bloody lady.
Right? It's just, it doesn't make sense. So medical professionals were baffled and also not moved by this far-fetched tale. For one thing, any midwife ever, even like partially trained, would know to clamp the umbilical cord of a new baby. This child's cord had simply been bitten and left to bleed. Like it wasn't clamped down.
She
properly.
did not have a hemostat.
Did not have a hemostat. So they're convinced that there's foul play involved, and the hospital locks down the nursery and alerts the police.
So the clamping is so that the baby doesn't bleed out from the umbilical cord?
It's not likely that a baby is going to bleed out, but like, yeah, there's residual fluid and blood in the cord. And so they clamp it. They'll usually clamp it in like 2 spots, and then you cut in the middle. And then they keep it clamped, like they trim off the remainder and then put a little clamp on it, and then the umbilical cord dries.
I know that,
and all of that just falls off. But
just wondering. Yeah.
I think they just clamp it so that like no connected blood source will continue to like A, nourish it, and B, like leak out.
Just to keep it nice and tidy.
And
It's what
clean,
they do with any surgery, anything like that. They use those.
Clamp, seal it off.
Clamp
So-
is not a great word.
Yeah, no. So they lock everything down. They call the cops. Doctors and police are questioning Darcy until the wee hours of the morning, and she seemed to have an answer for everything, but the answers were like off and disjointed. So like just having an answer doesn't mean you're making any sense. So she claimed that she didn't know who Cindy Ray was. She was clinging to this story of a surrogate, explaining that she got the $10,000 from a trust fund. They're like, well, how did you get the money?
So the police put it together that a pregnant woman was missing. And okay.
Yep, because fortunately Cindy Ray's husband at 6:30 that same night, that same day, reported her missing, and people were already out looking for her.
Right.
So local authorities were very aware.
Okay.
And I think they came into this interview, well, I know they came into this interview with this suspicion, because they immediately asked her, like, do you know this woman?
Right.
Do you know where she is?
Right.
And, you know, Darcy didn't know her, but certainly had to have known exactly why she was being asked this question.
Right.
Just because they didn't have a relationship doesn't mean Darcy can't answer the fucking question. So Darcy was also adopted herself. And so investigators kind of leaned into that connection to urge her to tell them where Cindy was. They were like playing into the fact that she grew up without knowing her mother. Like, don't do that to this baby. And obviously that's problematic on a million levels. I'm just saying that's the tactic they use, and it seemed to work.
Right. She was clearly not in her right mind, and they were appealing to her.
They were just trying
to
connect to her in any way they could to get information, which like doesn't absolve that kind of trauma, but like it is what it is. So Darcy started to crack, saying, quote, maybe something terrible has happened, but I can't bring it up. And then they'd press her
I can't
bring it up. Yeah, it's too tough for me.
I don't talk about politics, religion, or how I just committed this fetal abduction.
I don't fetal abduct and tell.
I can't stop killing someone.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
The weepy voice. Anyway, but then they'd press her more, and she finally said, I've done something horribly wrong. I'm afraid maybe something is wrong with the woman.
The woman.
And
maybe something is wrong. Just the like
With
distancing and the denial.
Yeah.
She also probably didn't know that woman's name.
I don't think she did. I really don't think she did.
That the woman.
Yeah.
The vessel that carried my baby.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So investigators continued to press her, and she knew her goose was cooked. It's done. So she finally confessed to killing Cindy Ray. She led them to the place where she had taken Cindy at gunpoint and left her body there. So they put her in a car, and she wasn't driving, but like she's in the back of a police car, and she showed them exactly where this was. So Cindy Ray had been strangled with the heart rate monitor belt that the OB had given her for the last 2 weeks of her pregnancy. Because remember, the baby was so quiet. She was like, we're getting a heartbeat, but just take this. It's a little peace of mind. We want you to check like a couple times a day. If at any point you can't hear it, then that would be, come in, get induced, whatever.
Right.
Darcy then performed a crude cesarean while Cindy was unconscious but still alive, using Cindy's car key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the part I had to leave out, because it's so fucking gruesome.
It was like, so Cindy drove a Chevy Blazer, so it had kind of a big metal key with like the plastic end. And
it's like serrated.
Yeah, but I mean, it would take a lot of stabbing and a lot of force to get this. I mean, I can't even imagine.
I'm not saying it's easy.
No, it's doable, but my God, the carnage. I can't even picture it. It's too sickening.
I know. I can't picture it.
I can.
Yeah. And do. So Cindy was still alive when this procedure, which you can't even fucking call it that, attack began, but died of blood loss during the key stabbing. And calling back to what a portion of Lucy's segment, I have to read this quote from a 1988 article in the LA Times that I've been quoting a lot throughout this because it does have a lot more details than the other articles I read. But like, this particular quote is so ridiculous and sexist. And yes, this was written by a man, but now I guess it was also validated by like research at the time, according to Lucy's segment. But it said here, quote, psychiatrists say what happened is an extreme example of maternal instinct run amok. The same force that drove women in this country to steal 17 newborns since 1980. The desire to have a baby is tied to a woman's identity, experts say. And even with the changing roles of women, the maternal instinct has not been lost.
So just putting all of the onus on crazy, hysterical women and not on society.
Not taking mental health seriously.
Or society linking fertility to
worth.
A woman's identity and worth. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Women be womaning.
It's just bonkers.
Whatever.
So the baby survived,
Amazing.
even though Cindy did not, and the baby was so sad. The baby was returned to Sam Ray, Cindy's husband, and given her rightful name, Amelia. Love that name so much.
Way better than Amanda.
Agreed. I fully agree. In court, Darcy's defense tried to plead insanity. However, multiple evaluations by psychiatrists confirmed that while Darcy was mentally ill, she was not insane at the time of the killing and was fit to stand trial at the time that she was like arrested and brought to trial. She was sentenced to life in prison for murder, 18 years for kidnapping, and 18 months for child abuse. In 1997, a new legal team tried to get a new trial, claiming that her previous team had not done their due diligence following up on potential leads that could have proved Darcy insane. But this bid was denied. And as far as I know, if she's still alive, I didn't look up her record, but she's still in prison.
This is a tough one because, one, the crime is so rare and it's so heinous and so brutal, but it does require preparation, that I just wish that there was more capacity to, declare someone insane, but still get them the treatment and seclusion from society that is needed.
And this sentence, in the places that I read it in these articles, would say, like, there's a clause in this sentence essentially that was like, guilty of murder but mentally ill. So it's like adjacent to an insanity defense, but doesn't absolve you on the basis of insanity. But like I'm not sure, but I believe that there was like a lot of psychiatric care that went along with the sentencing, but also she's sentenced to life in prison, so it's not like rehabilitating her is anybody's priority, and that's not what prison does anyway. So I totally hear what you're saying. Like, I think that clearly there was to be able to commit a crime of this magnitude,
fucking heinous,
something,
and thinking that it's gonna work too. Like thinking that this bizarre show,
like if you can pull it off, you're gonna raise this child now, this is your baby now.
It's not about the baby.
No, I know. But that's what Kenyon is saying, is that like to think that any of that, it's a delusion.
It is an absolute delusion.
And requires some serious psychological intervention and help.
Yeah, I just wish it wasn't such like a dichotomy. I wish it was more of a spectrum of treatment and means to protect society from a dangerous individual.
I mean, if we had a justice system that was actually rooted in like restorative justice, then we would totally have a spectrum menu of options when we get to the point of sentencing. It's not how she's built, folks.
No.
And it's really too bad. I think you're right. It does a disservice to a lot of victims, and it does a disservice to a lot of perpetrators who often at some point were victimized themselves, and that was how they got here in the first place. So I don't know.
I think it probably has a lot to do with, at least in the judicial portion of these crimes, has a lot to do with the fact that these are so horrific, and they deal with innocent babies and innocent mothers, and we just
little
socially see
Cindy who felt guilty about drinking a can of pop. Little
so there's a
Mormon
lot
lady.
of that. There's a lot of that emotion tied into this particular brand of crime too. That like probably the majority of people who were present and participating in the sentencing are just like, fuck this lady. She's a fucking monster.
It would be very hard to detach from that. And if the court rules that this individual was not insane at the time that the crime was committed, you are dealing with a premeditated. I mean, she went and stalked mothers to find a mother who fits.
No,
like,
it is
had
premeditated.
a plan.
I just think
absolutely,
I guess my definition of criminally insane is
More
different
broad.
than the courts.
It absolutely is. I think all of ours absolutely is, and it's
Off
just
her rocker.
completely sloppy bananas.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my case, and I hated it.
The car keys.
Your T-shirt fits.
The car keys.
Thanks. I hate it.
Oh.
Yeah, the car key is a detail that really, really turned my stomach when I did these notes.
Sticks out for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
good
thank
job.
you so much to Rosalie Schneider.
For making me physically ill today.
I am queasy.
Yep.
And
We were going to cover this at some point.
Had to.
That's true. And already have one case, but
Yeah.
I guess I really took bride crimes to a dark place, didn't I?
You really did.
Yeah, you have a record.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
See
We
ya then.
survived. Bye-bye.